Hey, welcome to Truck U. I'm Matt Steele.
Hi, I'm Bruno Massel.
Now today, we're working on this stock Polaris RZR. These things are incredibly fun, man. Buzzing all over the place, having a good time. We're going to make this one even more fun by adding a turbo kit. It's a nice bolt-on kit, and it's still going to run on pump gas, and it's going to have great results. Now, the kit we're talking about is this turbo right here from MCX-USA. All right, let's see where we started, right? Here's some dyno runs that we did in the stock configuration. We're looking at 32 to 35 horsepower. Not bad, but we're going to take it up to the next level, so to speak.
Yeah, we're looking to double the horsepower, and it's all going to start with this powerful little turbo. So we've got all the components we need right here in the kit, from the charge pipes to the new performance muffler to our new header to this cool little intercooler, and you've got all the connections you need, including the brain, and this new injector is going to pump a whole lot more fuel into this engine and make a lot more power.
Now, let's talk about the job at hand. Let's rate this on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as installation difficulty goes. Probably going to give it about a 5, right? So, if you're looking at this and you're saying, that is way over my head, I'm not even going to get involved, have somebody install it for you. That's going to be a good idea. But if you're pretty mechanically inclined and you're pretty handy around the place and you want to do this yourself, you could probably knock it out in about a day or so. It's going to take you a little bit more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we can go ahead and start putting anything in, we need to get some stuff out of the way and give us a place to work. Now, the biggest thing you need to do is go ahead and make the modification, because we're jumping from a naturally aspirated engine to one that's going to be forced induction. And the problem lies there is you need to knock some compression out. You see, most naturally aspirated engines, well, they have a lot of compression in them. This way, that's how they get their power. But when you go to forced induction, you're trying to keep the thing running on pump gas, it's probably going to detonate. So what we'll do is we'll put a shim in or a new head gasket in to give us more clearance, knock some compression out, and then whatever power loss we have from that compression will more than be made up for with that little turbo.
Yep, and to get at that, we need to get some of this stuff out of the way.
Okay, we've got our stock throttle body here, and if you look at it closely, you can see there's a little mounting bracket right here, and that's for a high-performance fuel injector. It's almost like the people at Polaris are daring us to hop this thing up, and you ask and you shall receive, because that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, the standard configuration's got 2 injectors still in the engine, and they'll fire and run properly when this thing doesn't have boost in it. Well, they'll run properly regardless, but they're not going to have enough to handle the big boost pressure. So when this engine senses boost, this injector is going to open up, because this EFI box is going to tell it to. The more boost that it sees, well, the more fuel it's going to put into it. Once it loses boost out of the engine, this injector will close and it'll continue to run around on those 2 stock standard fuel injectors. So we need to modify this a little bit to handle the new fuel injector. We got to drill out these 2 holes on the top here, because this is going to be a mounting location for our fuel injector. Then we actually have to go and drill out this big hole here, and which I'll end up doing in a drill press, because I don't want to egg it out. You see, this injector is just going to pop in and sit up against this O-ring. If you egg it out, it will never seal, and it's got a lot of pressure behind it. You'll definitely have a fuel leak, so you want to be careful about that. I'm going to tap these 2, drill out this side here, put this barb fitting in, and this is what's going to read back to our EFI box to tell it the engine that's got boost in it. So a couple little modifications, and this thing will be ready to go. This mounting bracket will mount onto here, fuel will go in, our injector will be set.
Now we are ready to mount this EFI. So this is going to be all set up, and we're going to mount that actually up here in kind of the cab of the vehicle behind the seat. But you want to be careful when you do this. You want to make sure that it's far enough over to the right to stay out of the way, because this tube is actually going to hook right there to the boost pressure sensor that's in the EFI, and this other end is going to go up there to the throttle body. And if you have it too far over to one side, it could get crimped by the seat in this thing when you're driving down the road, and that could give you false readings, and you don't want that. So make sure when you mount this EFI that it's far enough over to that one side. Now, the cool thing is, once you're ready to start hooking up the wiring harnesses and everything, it's simple plug and play, man. These things just plug in nice and easy.
Now, when we were on break, we went ahead and addressed that compression issue we talked about earlier. And as you can see, you look real close, we got the base shim underneath the cylinder right here. The reason why we did it on break is because it took a little while for it to set up. See, when you put something like that in, you need to coat it. We use some copper coat spray on it. And it's something you need to spray it on either side of our gasket or our shim here. Let it set up for about 30 minutes so it gets nice and tacky. Then bolt it down and let it set up for a little while. So this way, it's going to seal up. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of blow by and you're going to lose valuable boost pressure.
Now, the turbo is going to sit down in there a little bit. This is the only real frame modification that we've got to make is on the bottom side of this turbo is the oil return line right there. So that's going to hit. Here, you want to take that for a second?
Yeah,
I know
sure.
you like those things. So
yeah, I really do, actually.
we take a look right down in here, and we see right on this exhaust mount down here, where it was before, where everything was hooked up, all we need to do is just get that out of there. So if you're never going to use a stock exhaust again in this thing, which this guy probably won't, you could just whack off this whole bracket right there. But just in case he does change his mind down the road, I'm just going to cut a little V out of there, make some room. That way, if he ever does want to put the stock exhaust, he'll be able to do it. So. Now this is the turbo control valve right here. So your EFI is actually going to read the atmospheric pressure. So let's say you're going up higher in altitude and there's a little drop in the pressure. What the EFI is going to tell this valve to do is bump the pressure up a little bit. That way the vehicle is always running like it was at sea level. So that is a very cool thing. Now this MCX-USA turbo kit, actually the parent company is MC Express out of Sweden. And that all goes back to the technology that these guys were using in snowmobiles.
You know, these guys are no amateurs when it comes to turbo technology. These snowmobiles are putting out over 500 horsepower in a sled. I mean, it's pretty crazy stuff. And they're running at 10,000 feet, so they know what they're doing. And all they're doing is taking that technology and putting it in side-by-sides.
Yeah, 500 horsepower on a snowmobile is a crazy idea to me, man. It sounds like a lot of fun. I'd like to check that out, too.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
All right, so we'll get this in place, get all our bracketry in there, and get the turbo mounted loosely, and then we can actually slide in the exhaust here in just a second. You want to get one more in there?
Yeah, I got one more here.
Okay, cool.
Let's get it started.
Yeah, because we've got an upgraded exhaust, too, that's just going to help the whole system breathe and perform. We'll take a look at that.
And here's the two differences in the exhaust. Now, we've got the adapter that's already in place on this side of it, but quick look, you'll see the old one had a 90-degree bend it had to make, so that's not very efficient. What this one's a straight shot through. Not only does it look good, but it's going to perform well too, because there's a lot less baffling on the inside, which means that it's going to let this turbocharger exhale and get all the back pressure out, so it'll flow a lot better. As you can see, our turbo install is just about complete. Now you'll notice we've got a couple different openings heading right through the bottom of our bed, so we're going to drill the holes out accordingly. Now this one that's going to be 2.5 inches, what we're going to do is open up a spot for our air intake to come through. So I'm going to drill this out here, get our center started. That one's done. Now the other two are going to be a little bit smaller holes. They're going to be 2 1/8 inch in diameter. The idea behind it is we want to have room for our charge pipes going up to either side of the intercooler. Once these holes are drilled, we can put the bed back on, install our air cleaner, and put on our intercooler. And then we are done. All right.
And we'll fish that through. You got it?
Charge pipe. Yep.
Now we are on the home stretch, the last couple things that we've got to do for this turbo install right here. And everything's moving along well. I think this guy's going to be really, really happy. Here you go, partner. I'll give you that.
All right.
Obviously, we've got a few things to tighten down, some clamps to do. We've got to make sure everything is locked in, but we want to give you a kind of a peek of how this thing is actually going to look once it all comes together. So we'll get that mounted up on there, and this is where the intercooler is going to go back here. A lot of you might have been wondering, where is it going to go? Where's it going to fit under these there, right? So you've got it right here.
Not only does this MCX intercooler look cool sitting here, but it serves a good purpose. The whole idea is it's up into the airstream, so you're going to get a nice cool air charge into your turbocharger, and that's going to help with performance.
Speaking about cool air, here is the intake. That's going to go in. So I've got to sneak under there and actually get that all connected as well. But we'll just get this standing up, right? So put that in place.
Right.
That's pretty much how that is going to look, which is much better than the stock air box. It's big and it's bulky, and it has some pretty flimsy clamps on here that break off from time to time. This has been retired. It's out of here.
All right, so all we have to do is make our last-minute connections up here, and this turbo install is about done. Next thing we need to do is take a break while we lock it all up, because we're going to fire it up and let it eat on the dyno. We get back, we should have some dyno numbers for you, and I guarantee this thing is going to...
The numbers never lie. The dyno runs are done. It was a success, and we got the horsepower gains that we wanted. Nicely done.
Yeah, here's a little tip for you guys at home. If you happen to be out on the trails and you come across one of these razors with one of those MCX logos on the back, Just stay away. Don't even bother, man.
Just leave it alone, right? Just leave it alone.